Bukele in El Salvador, he's a young president, and he got orange pilled, and he wanted to make huge transformation. So he decided not to negotiate with the MS-13 gang, and they went on killing spree because of that. So Bukele called in a state of emergency. Within a 6-month period, he arrested and imprisoned over 65,000 gang members, and he took the country from being one of the most dangerous places with the highest murder per capita in the world to one of the safest places to live in Central America. I was ready to move then. Nobody has the time to even read a book. People are so consumed in running on the wheel, trying to make ends meet to keep up with inflation.
Do you have a prediction for like 2024, 2025? How did you find Bitcoin, and why did you stumble upon this crazy invention of Satoshi Nakamoto?
I stumbled upon Bitcoin. I was looking on social media one day, and people were talking about what's this cryptocurrency stuff. My investment doubled overnight, so it caught my curiosity, and I started looking into it. I downloaded a Wealth Simple app, and I started buying a bunch of altcoins. A little bit of Doge, a little bit of Litecoin, a little bit of Bitcoin, and I was messing around with them, trying to watch them every day, going up and down, and try to trade them for about a week, and I ended up losing about $1,000. And then I decided that I really want to look into this and understand it. I want to continue to do it, but I needed to understand it a little better. So I started looking up some podcasts and stumbled across a bunch of altcoin podcasts and people talking about which coins to invest in, how to profit, all that stuff. And then I came across what Bitcoin did. And I think it was Bitcoin Tina he was interviewing. And he started talking about Satoshi and how he invented this thing, Bitcoin, and nobody can stop it. Nobody knows who he is. And then he disappeared. And I just thought to myself, this thing is special, and I need to know as much as I can about this. And I was already down rabbit holes, learning about lifespan, health span, all that stuff. So it was very easy for me to transition over into Bitcoin, and so I really got it in a short period of time. It only took me a couple of days to a week before I was orange pilled myself. So, like I said, Bitcoin Tina was talking about all that stuff, and then I just started looking for as many podcasts as I could and books, and I just started absorbing as much as I could. I found Tales from the Crypt, and I just binged that. It probably took me, because it went back to like 2016 or 17 when Marty started that podcast, and it took me probably a month or two, because I went right back to the beginning and I just put it on 2x, and that's all I listen to every day.
Everything from the beginning. Wow.
Everything right from the beginning. And
which year was that? Like
that was Tales from the Crypt.
Yeah, what year did you stumble upon Bitcoin?
In 2021.
Okay, so you watched.
That's when Elon was talking about Dogecoin and all this stuff, and that's what really sparked my interest, because I've always been interested in Elon. He's done so many great things, just crazy things.
And you bought
really understand Bitcoin. But he'll get there. He doesn't have time to study Bitcoin. He got too much on his plate right now.
Yeah, it's interesting because he only bought Bitcoin with his companies. Like he mostly talks about Dogecoin. Like right now, he's not talking about the cryptocurrencies at all. Like I think since half a year, he kind of is quiet about everything, cryptocurrency related, Bitcoin related, Doge related. But when he started talking about Bitcoin and Doge, he mostly talked about Doge, but he never bought Doge with any company. Like SpaceX bought Bitcoin, Tesla bought Bitcoin, and he also went on an interview with Cathie Woods, talking about that he has a significantly higher portion privately in Bitcoin than in Doge. Like he always stated that he buys way more Bitcoin than Doge, but because of that he talks so much about Doge and less about Bitcoin, people are assuming he is all in on Doge, and Doge is for him the main asset, but it kind of isn't. Like it's a lot of Bitcoiners I see get this wrong, and I think he is at his heart a Bitcoiner, He also posted some stuff about Austrian economics and Hayek, the memes with Salma Hayek, but the
Mhm.
Austrian economics Hayek quotes. So I think he actually gets Bitcoin, and he chooses not to talk about it for whatever reason. But of course, he has not a lot of time. But I
Mhm.
think there's no way he does not get it. And he has a CFO at Tesla who really gets it. Like he
Mhm.
talked about Bitcoin and he really gets it, and he orange pilled him maybe even. So that's that from Elon, but it's fascinating to see.
Well, he's such a huge influence, right? So, I mean, if he were to start promoting Bitcoin, it would probably be too much at once, right?
Yeah, and then he has also a lot of capital that he can unlock for Bitcoin, with a whole companies and his private things, and he could incorporate it in X.
Mm-hmm.
That would be something, like really
Mm-hmm.
having lightning, like if you can set an I send two sats every time I like something, like
Yeah.
this, just small things like that. It would completely change the X thing.
Mm-hmm.
You're also on X, like what's your how do you like X now after Elon took it over? Did you were on X before it was called Twitter?
No, I never. I only joined Twitter for Bitcoin Twitter,
Yeah.
um, so I've never been on there before. And what was your question again? Sorry.
Just if it was before, if you were
Oh,
there
before
before,
Elon bought
because,
it.
but
No.
if you were on there just with Elon, you cannot really compare it with before, right?
Well, it allows you to speak the truth now. You're not censored, right? Like I go on there and I'm trying to spread the truth, and I call people out on things. I call politicians out on things. Um,
Yeah,
so,
it's a great platform. You
mhm.
also told me that you were planning to move from Canada, where you are living right now, to El Salvador in the next couple of years. Uh, what's your what's your thinking around that? Like, what's wrong with Canada? What's right with El Salvador?
Well, the state of Canada has been declining in the last couple of years, as everybody knows around the world, and I don't see it getting any better. They continue to just print money exponentially for social programs. Uh, they're actually talking about coming out with UBI now. Where's that money come from? So I think in the last couple of years, they added 40% more money in circulation. Uh, my house pretty much doubled in value. Um, the price of food has gone through the roof. You know, they're telling everybody there's 5, 6, 7% inflation, and we're trying to get it back down. But if you look at the numbers of everything, it varies. Inflation isn't a fixed number. But if I look at my things that I purchase as a contractor and just as a family, things have gone up on average between 10 and 50%. That's a lot higher than 5 to 7%. And they're just gaslighting people, right? They're telling people that you know you're spending too much money on things. That's why there's inflation, and telling people that things are actually cheaper than they are. And it's just not true. So I don't see it getting any better, because they're under the old political system, the old system where politicians, it doesn't matter who they are, they just continue to print money and create bread and circus for the populace to distract them. It's like, uh, oh, look over here, while we print more money to fund things that we want. So Bukele in El Salvador, he's a young president who took over and he wanted to make a huge change. He 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 discovered Bitcoin Beach in El Salvador, and he got orange pilled, and he wanted to make a huge transformation. So he decided not to negotiate with the MS-13 gang that lived there, and they went on a killing spree because of that. So Bukele um, basically called in a state of emergency, and within a 6 month period, he arrested and imprisoned over 65,000 gang members. And he took the country from being one of the most dangerous places with the highest murder per capita in the world to one of the safest places to live in Central America. And even it has a lower murder per capita rate now than Canada, right? So when I heard about Bekele and all this stuff, I was ready to move then, right? I'm very spontaneous, and I can see stuff, and I make decisions quick. But I didn't want to bring that on my wife, so I didn't want to like say we need to move out of here and all this. So I just slowly started teaching her about Bitcoin and talking about El Salvador, and we watched a few podcasts and YouTube videos of people actually on the ground there and talking about it. And she looked at me and said, "We need to move to El Salvador." So my eyes just lit right up. I'm like, "Okay, what do we do?" Right. So we just started planning. It's probably going to take a couple of years. We have kids in the house, older kids that don't want to move. So we got to continue to raise them and make sure that they're able to take care of themselves before we move. And when we get down there, we would like to get set up and try to start to bring people with us, right? Sort of like, take them down on a little free trip and they'll never want to leave again, sort of deal.
I also think so that it has this kind of power. How's the process of moving to El Salvador? Like, what do you need as a Canadian to move there? Is there any special, like, do you have to invest something there? I heard something that you have to put down a free Bitcoin and you can have an investment. Or it's like, did you already research like what do you actually need for?
Yeah, we've been talking to a few people and watching some videos. You can spend Bitcoin or to get a citizenship. Now they offer, if you pay $1 million, you can get citizenship. To move there, you need a criminal record, back check. I can't remember what other paperwork you need.
Yeah, but probably some usual normal paper stuff. But you don't have to invest to move there, right?
No, you have to have an income, like so you could work online and have income coming from outsource. Essentially, you go there, you can get you can stay there for a year, and you have to renew your. I can't remember what it's called.
What are you actually working? Is that before like real estate and contracting? Is that something? Is that like a full-time job, or what are you working on?
Yeah, so I'm self-employed. I'm a contractor. I do kitchen renovation work, so that gives me a lot of freedom. I don't have a boss. I work all by myself, so I don't have a boss. I don't have any employees. I don't have any coworkers, so I'm able to just put some headphones on and listen to Bitcoin all day while I work. I've been doing my job for 20 some years now, so I'm pretty comfortable with what I do. I don't have to think about what I do at work anymore, so I'm able to focus all of my attention to learning while I'm working. The working aspect is like breathing; it's second nature now. So I feel very privileged, and I don't take it for granted because not too many people have the ability to do that, and nobody has the time to even read a book. People are so consumed and running on the wheel, trying to make ends meet to keep up with inflation. But
Yeah, as we said before, like Elon Musk probably doesn't really have time to probably proper read a book and then proper study Bitcoin. And I mean, he's on the upper scale, like he could make that time. But there are people that just cannot make that time because they're in this feared rat race where they have to run from 1 month to another month just to make with two, maybe even three jobs to make roof over their heads, roof over their family heads, eat something and live some life. And for them, it's really hard to break out because they can, like, if there's nothing up to save, it's hard to even save in Bitcoin. If there's like if there's just no fiat left in the end of the month, it's hard to even pay anything towards Bitcoin, and they don't have time to research about what Satoshi Nakamoto did and what Bitcoin actually is, and listen all day long to the fiat to Bitcoin podcasts. So it's a really good situation where we are in, and I had this privilege to start asking myself the question, what do I do with my money? Like I don't know if you heard it on maybe on one or two podcasts, or even if I even published it, but I started with 18 years old. I got some money from my grandma, and it was like 500 euros. Like, it was not a lot, but this was my first money that was just left over because I was 18 and not working. So it was just like, what do I do with the money? And with 19, I also started working then next to school. And I started the question, like, what do I do actually with that energy now? And I put it in a savings account. You can imagine what this gave me, like 0.001% interest. Like, they accumulated 2 cents in the first quarter. It basically was giving nothing. It was losing in value. It was stumbling upon stocks. I was stumbling about ETFs, and for some reason, I found picking individual stock really interesting and really intriguing. And I was also good and lucky. Learned a lot about it, and because of the success I had with picking stocks, a lot of people ask me, "Oh, wow, how do you do it?" And I went on like a tour, like a family tour, like to this household or this household, and I explained them how do I pick stocks. But the fundamental problem they had, they didn't want to learn how to pick stocks. They wanted to learn how to secure their financial energy. And this is something completely different. Like, picking stocks is a profession where you have to listen to the quarterly calls. You have to read the 10Qs, the 10Ks. You have to really research what the management team is doing. Like, that's proper investing. Like, that's completely different to Bitcoin. And then I stumbled upon friends that told me, "Hey, there's this Bitcoin thing. You do this investing thing. What is Bitcoin for you? Like, makes this sense?" And I said, "It's a scam." This was in 2019. It's a scam. I don't like it. And in 2020, more and more people were pushing me about Bitcoin and saying, "Hey, what's this thing about?" And I actually was on a quest, on a weekend quest to have good arguments against Bitcoin. And this was the weekend where I found Bitcoin, discovered Bitcoin. And because I wanted to find arguments against it, but in the weekend, I discovered that Bitcoin is actually something really, really cool and really, really good. So this was kind of my story, and I discovered that the problems I had earlier with the family members, that they are wanting a place where they can save financial energy and not pick stocks. This is Bitcoin. Like, Bitcoin is a savings technology for me. I kind of rambled upon, got on a ramp right now. I didn't even,
Yeah, no worries.
don't even know why I went on this, but
Well,
maybe.
I remember watching your podcast. You researched and invested
Oh yes,
in
yeah.
Tesla, and you said that you went to the factory and you were talking to one of the employees there, and you knew more about Tesla than he did.
Oh yes, 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 yes. I actually talked with a Tesla employee, and I knew so much about it. It's. I was really like, I stayed up till 2 a.m. in the morning. Like, I'm in Europe, in Austria, and so I'm not in the American time zone, so I had to stay up really late to listen to the conference calls.
Yeah.
And I put a lot of work in, and this whole work then started to focus on Bitcoin, on finding out why Bitcoin and what is the Bitcoin technology all about. And this really opened my eyes as Bitcoin as a savings technology. But you said it was really quick. Did you also, like, I went on a portfolio streak where I had almost everything in Tesla, in stocks and in general. And then in 1 year, from zero Bitcoin and 100% stocks to 100% Bitcoin and 0% stock, and in 1 year completely all in. Like, how was your journey? Was it really like in 1-2 months you all in? And
Well, for me, it was I allocate a little bit of money, and then like I said, as I was learning, more and more, I was just more convinced that this was the thing. This was the change. It was the fix to everything. So I have $0 in my bank account. We recently were planning on selling our house. Again, I didn't want to convince my wife of it, but uh, she brought it up. So we listed it on social media, not with an agent, but just kind of reach out to people and feel them out. Uh, our plan was to sell the house to somebody who wanted to rent it back to us for a couple of years so that we could pull all the capital out and pay off a little bit of debt and then just put the rest into Bitcoin. But we talked to a couple of people and then she kind of backed out of it. So I just left it at that. But I've been stacking, just dollar cost averaging, ever since I started learning, and the allocation has grown over time. And um, I'm working as much as I can, minimize my expenses so I can spend more on Bitcoin, and it's conserving my life's energy. I look at if you can get one Bitcoin right now, the value of one Bitcoin is like 43,000 US. If you spend $43,000 on a Bitcoin, you're buying like 100 years of income, right? Like if you can put that away for a few years, and as that starts to grow in purchasing power, it's like a money pot that never ends, right? If you have 20 years income and it goes up 5, 10, 20x every 4 years, then you're set for life. Generational wealth to pass on for generations to come.
yeah, I also made this experiment today in one of my posts on X. When you take Bitcoin and see how many million quadrillions of satoshis there are, and divide that number by how many billions of people are there, you come to a number of 250,000 satoshis per person. If we assume the Bitcoin adoption is 100%, if we assume there's no Bitcoin left, no Bitcoins lost, there's a wrong assumption, but if we assume that in the calculation, and if we assume that the distribution about from the Bitcoin is completely equal about all the citizens, this would mean with 250 satoshis in a future where Bitcoin is completely adopted, you can buy now for $100 the average net worth of a person. And I think it will be even less because it will not be evenly distributed. It will be the base layer of our financial system. And I think not evenly distributed. It will be. I think this is the main part. It's not evenly distributed, and there's a lot of lost Bitcoin yet. That's what I was missing now. So it's probably not 21 million Bitcoin. It's probably 15, 14 million Bitcoin. So this would lead you with a really low number that you need right now to buy in Bitcoin to be set in life. But it depends on how long you look out for. Like, because to have an adoption rate for Bitcoin over 100% or even close to 100%, like 80%, we will probably need like a lifetime for that. Like it will not happen in 5 years or 10 years. So it also depends on how far you go down. Like I always like when people ask me how many Bitcoin do I need to retire, I'm like, depends on the outcome. If you want to stop working today and live on Bitcoin for the rest of your life and you're now 20, you probably need a lot of Bitcoin because maybe it goes down, maybe it goes up. You don't know. I would not focus on that right now. But if you are having a long time horizon and you have a stable income, you don't need a lot.
No, no. Well, I mean, it took only 15 years to go from zero to 40 some thousand now. And that was 93% of issuance with a 0.5% of the global population. So because of the halving cycles, there's only less than 7% that the other 99.5% of the global population has to compete for over the next 100 and some years. So 0.5% in a short period of time, fighting over 90 some percent, brought it to 40 some thousand. Like the number is, it's just going to grow forever, right? And
do you have a prediction for like 2024, 2025? Do you make price predictions in Bitcoin?
well, I mean, nobody's ever right.
Yeah.
I know it's going up, and I know it's going to go up a lot. There's a lot going on this year. We get the halving. We have ETF approval within the next couple of days. That's like a halving in itself. Um, I would say the diminishing returns is not going to occur this year. I think we're looking at a 10 to 20x from where we stand now. Is
Yeah,
what I feel.
we could
Or
actually
before.
have like a super cycle this next cycle. I think like this could
Mhm.
be a cycle that's completely different than the last cycles. Like Michael Saylor said it so nicely. Like if you're having a football game where two teams that are equal in quality and quantity, you're having a nice game. Like one team sets a goal, another team sets a goal. But if you change out some players in the halftime and all of a sudden the best goalkeeper is in the goal and the best attacker is in the front, and there's like a really good middle field and a defender in there, like it will be 10-0 because it's like the if the big boy comes in, and with big boy I mean now BlackRock, mean now ARK and all the big funds. This just completely changes the game. Like there's the buy volume that will occur in 2024 is unseen. Like I think not almost no Bitcoin is ready for the bull run that we will witness this year.
No, it's like the allocation coming is like it's going to tear faces off. Like right now, there's about I don't know $40 million worth of Bitcoin that is minted into existence every day, and it's pretty much being consumed as it's being purchased. And you're going to have hundreds of millions of dollars a day trying to purchase $40 million worth of Bitcoin. The
Yeah,
only thing that can happen is the number has to go up to meet that demand, right? The price moves on the margin as well. So there's the multiple effect. Somebody said back in the last bull run, they figured for every dollar that went into Bitcoin, it increased the overall market cap by 118. So for every dollar going in, it increased the market cap by 118.
yeah, and the crazy thing is when only BlackRock is approved, which is not like, I think there will be many that will be approved, but if only BlackRock is approved, and if BlackRock only invests like 1% allocation, this will triple the daily buy volume of Bitcoin. Triple.
Mm-hmm.
With only
And
one
that just
fund
brings
and
in,
only 1%.
yeah, and
And
that brings in FOMO from retail and everybody else, and it just feeds on itself, right?
yeah, and then you have to consider this 1% will shoot up. They will have the clients saying, "Oh no, I want 5%, I want 10%, I want 15% allocation." Then there are like more funds than there are. They are even now coming in and making advertisement. Like the some ETF funds are now even advertising for a Bitcoin ETF that is not even approved. So
Mm-hmm.
imagine how much marketing budget, how much salespeople, how much eyeballs will be on Bitcoin in 2024 when the thing is approved, plus the whole capital that it's unlocked. It's crazy
Exactly.
when I hear, oh no, it's buy the rumor, sell the news. It's
Mhm.
not. It's not even close to that.
No. Well, that's a great point because if you think about it, Bitcoin has nothing. There's no owner. There's no marketing budget. There's nothing. And to get to where it has now with all the success and now, like you said, it has a marketing budget now. There's going to be millions and millions of dollars to promote this thing. So
Yeah, even if you see the community, like 2017, it was all about ICOs, it was all about altcoins, it was all about this and that. And now there are Bitcoin only podcasts like me, like myself, and there are a lot more out there, like what Bitcoin did. You mentioned Peter McCorney. There's so many Bitcoin only podcasts, Bitcoin only articles, Bitcoin only websites, Bitcoin only CEOs of really, really big companies like Michael Saylor. We have Bitcoin only presidents with Nayib Bukele. There is a lot coming. Like we have come far, but we are still so early. The
oh
saying cannot be true at this time. So better stack as many sets as possible because it could be over end of the year. Like if we are at $1 million end of the year, it's not as attractive as it was when you have 20. And also people like, oh no, I want to wait till it's back at 30,000 or 20,000. Really, it's going to 1 million. And you
yeah,
want to figure out if you want to buy at 40,000, 60,000 or 10,000. Like it does not matter.
no.
So that's my view on it. To wrap the podcast up, we have an end routine, the podcast where the previous guest asked the question for the next guest, and the question for you is: what has been your biggest personal belief that you had to destroy in order for you to understand and adopt Bitcoin?
Biggest belief I had to destroy. Well, I always was the type of person I always wanted to find the truth out about everything. Ever since I was a little kid, you know, we were lied to about Santa Claus and the Tooth Fairy and all that stuff. So at a young age, I always wanted to discover the truth. And I always knew that something just wasn't right about society. But when I started learning about Bitcoin, it opened up my eyes to what's actually going on. And it changed everything, right? When you read hundreds of books and listen to all the podcasts, it just, you become awake and you feel bad for everybody because they're they're caught in the matrix, right? Nobody understands what's going on. Everybody's being lied to. Everybody forgets. You get the next politician in, and they forget what the last one did, right? And then he's blaming the next guy, and it's a never ending cycle. But I think the biggest belief system that I shut down was that it was like trusting in our leadership. Um, like I said, there was some concerns, but I honestly thought that good leaders would have would consider their people. But they don't, right? When you really realize that it's all about just printing money, and there's they get elected, they're in for a few short years, and their whole role that time, their whole focus is on how do I get reelected? How do I establish myself with people to be able to benefit myself financially? And they're just extracting wealth from the population, and then the next guy comes in, does the same thing. But I honestly thought that the healthcare system was there to help people, and then I realized it's not a healthcare system; it's a sick care system. It's there to.
It's I mean, I don't know how it's in Canada called, but in Austria, it's in German. It's called Krankenhaus. Like it's like a house for the sick people, as you said. It's not get wealthy house, or not wealthy, get healthy house. It's like it's a sick house, and I
Yeah,
think
they
it's
treat the symptoms, right?
uh,
That's it. They don't look for the underlying cause of what you're going through. They just mask it by treating the symptoms, and it keeps
yeah,
you sick, and it
yeah,
keeps
and
you
they're just
rely
giving
on the
you
system.
medicaments for like, oh,
Hmm.
you have this, then take this. And then it's just like when you read it, oh, it's just a painkiller.
Hmm.
It's like I want to know what's wrong with my body, and want to know like how can I treat it and how can I be more healthy and not how can I like if you hit your toe every day on the table, maybe it's time to stop hitting your toe and not putting on some painkiller. Like
Yeah, exactly.
that's I think it's a beautiful I think a beautiful way to end the podcast. I think you have a unique Bitcoin perspective. Thank you for sharing it, Lorne. And you
Thanks for
talked
having me.
you talked before about maybe you start your own YouTube channel. I would really welcome that, and maybe we see a Lorne show in some amount of time. So
Sounds
thank you for
good.
being on.
Thanks for having me. I'm honored. Have a good one.